Hello, music friends. Today I'm here with Reverend Paul Hemenway, the lead singer and guitarist of the 90s alternative rock band Black Happy. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Well, can you tell me a little bit, how did you get into music?
Sure. Really just loved music as I was growing up. And my parents always had music playing in the house.
Okay.
My mom played piano, and she tried and failed to get us to take piano lessons.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough as a music parent. I know.
So we wanted to play sports, and we kind of ditched that.
Right.
But we always loved rock and roll.
Okay.
And then when we were early in our teens, my brother and I got some guitars.
Nice.
And started trying to copy our favorite bands and heroes. And
who were some of your favorite bands and heroes at that
Iron
time?
Maiden.
Okay, yeah.
Black Sabbath, Judas Priest. We love the Police.
Okay.
And just a lot of hard rock,
right?
Heavy metal, but some different stuff. And so we just learned how to play other people's songs, and then said, "Hey, why don't we try writing some of our own?" So
this was a family thing, you and your
brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there some sibling rivalry, or you guys got along pretty well?
No, we were notorious. If you've ever heard about brothers being in bands, we can top most of those stories.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So throwing guitars at each other and fist fights and.
My sisters and I haven't gotten quite that bad with the violins. My parents were like,
Yeah, I hope you don't ever get to that point. So.
Yes.
Yeah, our drummer at the time had just a standing position that once he saw it coming, he would sneak behind us and grab the guitars and instruments so we didn't throw them at each other. So, yeah, it got pretty heated, but we love each other now.
That's good.
And we just like playing rock music. So then we started playing shows. And
just you two, or how did you kind of expand your group then to get the drummer? And
we went through about 40 different lineups before we found the one, and which is odd because the one lineup that stayed together was an 8-piece band with two drummers and 2 guitarists.
That's pretty big then.
And 2 trombonists and a saxophonist, and so
how'd you decide to bring in the brass? That's kind of a cool addition too.
We went from loving heavy metal to loving hip hop.
Okay.
And we went, hey, why, we like Metallica and we like James Brown. Can we combine the two?
I love fusions, like genre mashups and stuff. Oh, that's cool.
So that was kind of how we came up with it. And then we started playing shows, and I think about it now, it seemed like we started playing shows forever, and then we did our first recording, but it actually, within the playing our first show and doing our first recording, it was 2 months.
Oh,
and so
that was really back to back.
Yeah, we really just started recording right out of the gate, and then we made our.
Do you think that helped, kind of going?
Yes.
Doing both at the same time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so, but as you're talking about music, that's 2 totally different kind of approaches.
Right.
Live music is very different than recording music.
Yes.
And although they're both very, very useful in supporting each other.
Yeah. And I feel like right now, since we're not able to perform a lot of live, I mean, a lot of us musicians have had to pivot to the recording, and for me too, it's been a different ballgame.
Oh, I can't imagine being a musician in this climate right now.
Right.
It's challenging to say.
What would you kind of recommend for them, when you're switching from live to recording or back and forth?
If since you asked what I would do
if
I were a musician, I would work like crazy on my recorded output right now.
Yes.
When you're never going to have this kind of time to work on it and to put into recordings. That makes sense. That musicians are going to have now. You don't have anything interrupting.
We don't have all these constant gigs that are like, oh, I've got to get ready for that.
Exactly.
So I'm putting off. I feel like you hear so many musicians say, I'm putting off the recording because it's, harder to get to that part. But right now is our chance to really have more output.
Yeah, you can put down a ton of ideas and stuff and really set up a foundation for recording in the future. So.
Right.
So we started playing and recording, and then we kind of just gradually, our tours got broader and broader out of the Northwest, which is where we're from.
That's where you're kind of based.
Yeah, and then they just started going wider and wider till they, hit national and stuff. And so it was a really fun time to be creative and to get to experience a lot of cool stuff.
That's amazing. How'd you kind of find your sound? I guess you said you talked a little bit about the fusion.
Yeah.
How did you kind of develop that? And did it evolve a lot over time, or did you feel like you had your sound pretty early on? Or
no, I'll tell you, one of the things that helped our sound, and it did evolve, was we didn't see any reason why we couldn't play a music we liked. Okay. So if we liked something that was country, we didn't have a problem with it.
Nice.
If we liked something that was speed metal, we would do it. If we liked something that was hip hop, we would do it.
And you felt like your audience still responded well to even the different genres?
That was what was weird about it, was all the quote unquote experts in the industry said, no, you got
to stick with your specific field or
stay in your lane.
Your category. Yes.
And yet there were all these people that were like, man, we love this, that it's so different. And so inadvertently, we were just trying to have fun and do what we liked. And I
think people pick up on that. They can tell if you're literally just writing songs or books or whatever you're doing just to fit that one category. I think it gets a little stale for the creator, and then they can kind of feel that. Yeah.
So that was cool that we were blessed with people that supported us, that let us change, and let us, and not only that, but encouraged it. So that was cool.
That helps a lot. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your reunion tour that you got to do a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that was cool. 2 years ago. We did one in 2010. We broke up in 1995, and then
a lot of you had families since then. And
yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, families.
Moved to different parts of the country.
Yeah. So we're not together, in the same proximity anymore. And
that's tough.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to
not be right next to all your musicians.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
A couple of years ago we were able to do it again, and it's just fun because we're more mature, we're better friends,
Right.
We're
I heard you sold out like every concert.
Yeah, it's been really really cool to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And to be supported. So.
I think didn't some of you bring your families, got to actually see you guys perform? I think that would be really neat for the next generation to see, hey, this is what, what dad did or what my parents did.
Right.
It kind of inspires them. So
in fact, that was one of the reasons I wanted to do it again, was so my kids could see that. They had never gotten to see that.
What was their kind of reaction to
it? It was so, first of all, they were really, they were the only kids out of all of them that went to every show.
Really?
Yeah, they were there and they loved it and they had fun and it was neat.
That's awesome. I'm so glad they got to have that experience.
Yeah, and one of them is one of your students.
I know. Yes, so, yes. I happen to think. Yeah, I want him to see what he can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are some of kind of the different fields you can go into and within kind of the rock world? I know I talk a lot to classical musicians, but what are some of kind of your options for upcoming musicians? Some of the options they have.
There's just the field that you're in, just the kind of rock, or they call it popular music.
Right.
It's kind of the mainstream, if you will. But so that's always an option. But there are so many things that you can do in terms of writing songs for. Licensing, movies, radio, video games.
Yes, that's become a really big new new field.
So there's all kinds of stuff that major companies buy. I have friends of mine that do that. That's what they do. They write 30-second snippets that ESPN buys for a buffer.
Nice.
And so they'll say, "Hey, can you do me one that sounds like Nirvana?" Or can you do one that sounds like, Soul Asylum or whatever?
Right.
And so there's that avenue to go. There's the live avenue to go. There's the recorded avenue. There's, playing, in collaboration with people. There's
I love that. Yeah. I think that's so fun to do the collaborations.
Yeah. Well, you can do that. You have that ability.
Well, it brings the genres together, and that's one thing I want classical musicians to know, that they need to be able to try different genres. So we can have more options, and especially in today's day and age, we have to be a little more flexible. And I think people tend to get really attached to the sound they know, whether it's they know classical or they know that type of rock, and trying to see that you can work together to create these different sounds.
Right.
And then that way people, if they're familiar with, whichever sound, but then they can learn a new sound at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think that can be a really cool experience for people on both sides of the spectrum.
And I think that is the key piece of advice to any musician is don't be so closed into what you think you prefer that you box out the discovery of something really cool.
I agree. I totally agree.
Learn about all different kinds of music and then make your decision, and instead of being just pigeonholed in or boxed into something, open up, expand the view of things.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for talking with me today, sharing your wisdom. Yeah, no, I love it. So, well, thanks again. And
you're welcome.
See you next time. Thanks for joining us again today. If you've enjoyed this interview, please hit the like button. And if you'd like more videos, go ahead and hit the subscribe, and I'll see you next time.